What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm joined today by AP, and AP, we've had a lot of news so far, so it's going to be a lot of fun talking about this slate. How did the week treat you?
Yeah, the week's going really good. Started off with a nice bang. That Tuesday slate ended up snagging a ticket to that 2,500 milli that DraftKings is going to run. I don't know if it's going to come next Wednesday or not. Like Wednesday, we're going to have a 13 game slate. All the team, I believe, almost all the teams are playing, and I feel that's right before Thanksgiving. There's no NBA games there. Obviously, I think it's a good time for them to run that milli contest that they run.
Yeah. So I'll be rooting for you there and be interested to see how that turns out. So we're pretty excited about the DFS slate, and there's some plays on the bet side that I like as well. So let's jump right in. The Indiana Pacers are heading to Charlotte to take on the Hornets. The line is now -1. The Pacers were about 2.5 on the open. So they've taken a little money, and I think rightfully so. I think this is a tough matchup for a Charlotte team that, while on paper they have as much talent, I don't know how much the matchup favors them. My idea is that they really struggle against big men, and you have Sabonis and Turner to attack that weakness. On the injury side, this Pacers team finally getting pretty healthy, but still, Chris Duarte is on the injury report, so it's like they can't ever all get together at the same time. Line move from 2.5 to 1. I think it's the right move. I think Indiana's going to beat them down low. How do you see this game?
Yeah, I mean, this game was a lot of fun. The first game out of the season, right out of the gate there, 123 to 122, I believe, the first time they matched up. So the first thing I noticed was the total here. But, under Rick Carlisle, teams playing at a slower pace, trying to put an emphasis on defense, which makes sense. They had, I thought the Pacers, they went through a stretch. I believe they won right around five out of six or seven game stretch. It looked like they were putting things together, and then lost to the Knicks, lost to the Pistons. But obviously that game, Cade Cunningham kind of took over and had a monster game. So it is what it is. But still, they shouldn't be losing to the Pistons. I shouldn't say it is what it is, because when you have Brogdon, LeVert, Sabonis, Turner, you should not be losing to the Pistons. So, while the spread has moved in the Pacers' favor, I don't feel good about it. I'm probably going to be off betting this game. I want to bet the overs, but man, unders are hitting at an unreal clip. 215 for this game. We're going to have, like you said, easy buckets in the paint for the Pacers. And then I just think, defensively, Indiana has kind of struggled. So I think LaMelo could have a good game. I think, Kelly Oubre has shined off the bench as well. A lot of things that could happen here. I'm off the side, a slight lean to the over.
All right. And because there's so many value in other games, are we fine just fading this game? Or if I do, is there someone that I'm missing out on that I should be trying to target?
Yeah, so bigs against the Hornets. It's been you can play any of these bigs against them. So I'm just trying to see who. So they just played Washington. I wanted to play Montrezl Harrell, but he's in a timeshare with Gafford, and Gafford's been so up and down this season. He finally smashed in that matchup, and it's like, man, if you go up and down the list, and if you just pull up the box score, any big that's faced them just crushes. So what I would do, if you want to get different in tournaments, I would look at Sabonis here, 8.9K, favorable price tag. I'm not quite sure. Carlisle they're not looking to run the offense through Sabonis quite often, but we do know he's a coach that likes to exploit matchups. It's a matchup. It's a mismatch down in the paint there with Plumlee and Miles Bridges and those guys down in the paint. So maybe Sabonis in tournaments. He's not going to make a main team just because the Pacers team is healthy. But man, I would not be surprised if the end of the night I pull up the game log here and see Sabonis with a 50+ DK point type game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The next game is the one I alluded to with all the value. The Golden State Warriors down to -2 after opening pretty high. I think it was -8 or -9. And that's because they are going to be missing Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Steph Curry, and Otto Porter. So a lot of usage getting funneled to guys with lower prices. But let's just start talking about betting the side here. So I see a lot of people on the Warriors still. I don't know about that. I mean, I know I'm a big guy on superstar subtraction, but this is a lot to take away from the team. I'm not going to bet it, but it's Pistons or pass. And then AP, I also got to get your thoughts. A total of 199. How are you approaching this game?
Yeah, so this is a really unique spot where you have, you have a Pistons team coming in with a smidge of confidence. They have wins over the Pacers, wins over the Raptors, a loss to the Kings and Cavs, and then they beat the Rockets a little while ago. So, they're starting to kind of get things going. We're starting to see more of a defined rotation around Cade Cunningham. He had a rough start to the year, but this is a guy that, man, if they build around him, I think they should get rid of Grant. They should really try to get pieces around this kid because I think he's really good and definitely good for fantasy purposes. I think he's a little bit too cheap here at 6.4K. But when it comes down to betting, I would not be surprised if the Warriors came in and won. It's all about the mojo in this team right now. I mean, you have all the bigs out, Draymond, Steph, all these guys are out. However, you still have Wiggins in there. You still have Poole in there. This team is just, man, they're playing so good right now that it's more of I could see guys like Bielita, Gary Payton. You mentioned him, 2 weeks ago. You first mentioned him. This kid's good. Now is the time for him to shine. Jonathan Kuminga looked good the other day. Damian Lee was getting buckets yesterday in the fourth. I think almost all 11 points of his came in the fourth quarter against the Cavs. And so I would be very I do think people are going to get on the Pistons. I think the sharp bet here is still the Warriors. They got so much good mojo, and you know what's going to happen. Curry's going to be on the sideline. Draymond's going to be over there. If it stays close, they're going to be all over cheering and everything. So I just think that, man, the game's going to stay close. It's going to be awesome for fantasy purposes just because of the value that we get. The guys I like, Damian Lee, Bielita. I'm off Looney. Looney's just not a guy that he's not when does this guy ever get more than 20 minutes? I guess on the season he did have a monster game against Minnesota. Maybe that's something that we got to go back and look at. But I do think it's a Bielita, Wiggins, Poole, Gary Payton, Damian Lee are kind of the main values that you want to focus on this slate. And then you run it back with Cade Cunningham. Okay, I'm off Grant. Bay is I'm not a Bay guy. Hayes, no way. It's Cade Cunningham. I want the ball in his hand, and I want him to go ham. And I want to run it back with 2 or 3 pieces at least from the Warriors.
All right. You brought up some interesting things. And normally we don't do this, but because I'm not a big trade speculation guy, but it has been all over the news. And you specifically talked about it. And these teams are both involved in trade rumors. We'll start with the Pistons side. Did you read the rumor, Jeremiah Grant and some pieces today for Ben Simmons, maybe a pick and another young player? I actually thought that was a pretty good trade for both teams. Did you hear about that? And do you have thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I did see that. I'm kind of curious. I think Grant would be a great piece on a team like Philly if he can buy in. But they already got. I'm just trying to think of that. That team. They already got. I don't know. Where would you put Grant at? At the 3? Would you have him be in kind of a wing type role or? I'm trying to think back to the
4.
The 4, and then move
I'd run Harris
to the
3. Yeah.
That could work. Defensively, they would be not too bad at all. I still think they would struggle in the backcourts, but the Pistons. I mean, say what you want to say about Ben Simmons. I know in the DFS world we're quite critical, and I know a few colleagues of mine are really critical of him. And, I am at times as well. But defensively, he's a really good basketball player. I just think, man, he's going to struggle down the stretch because teams know he can't shoot free throws. So you hack him, and it's almost like a free possession at times. So the other thing I would like to see him do is get to the rim a little bit more. I don't think he does that enough, and if he did that, I think it would just boost his stock a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting with the fit. I didn't think about the other side. Obviously, Simmons fits well, but isn't those two guys that really high usage? I wonder how they would fit together, Cade and Simmons. I would hate to add Simmons and then stunt Cunningham's development, who I think has the higher ceiling overall. Let's go to the Warriors side and address some of those rumors. So a lot of people are really adamant that the Warriors need to trade some of these young guys and acquire an established veteran. I'll tell you what, watching Kuminga and Wiseman as well, I think that would be a mistake. I think especially Kuminga has got a great chance to be a star. I would be patient with these guys and run the squad as it is. What do you think?
I mean, are people really saying that? I mean, you're about to get another
star. A lot
star
of Warriors
back.
fans are. Yeah.
Really? I mean, like you got Klay Thompson, like Iguodala looks revitalized on defense.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jordan Poole, who looks phenomenal at times, but honestly, it really comes down to, I think Wiggins has improved defensively. You have Draymond, who just runs everything. I mean, he creates so much to get Steph Curry open and get those open looks. And then you got Curry, who is like, I mean, the guy is just incredible. Right. I was listening to NBA radio today, and I think I'm trying to recall the exact numbers. I think he has 37 games of 9 or more three-point made shots. I mean, the next closest is like 7. And he has like 4 this month too. So like he has as many as Kobe Bryant. There's a stat I heard. Kobe Bryant's whole career. I know he wasn't like a 3-point shooter type guy. A little bit different, but he had 4 games where he made 9 3-pointers, and Curry's done that this month. And there's still time left in this month too. I mean, the guy's incredible. The team's fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad to see a couple of our fellow RPS coordinators in the chat. What's up to Glaucoma? And we got Gary in here as well. I've been watching you guys, really love what you do. So we're going to have to coordinate and bring them on the rundown as well if we can figure that out. Let's move on to the very next game. This game is going to be fun. The Los Angeles Lakers revive a historic rivalry with the Boston Celtics. When I started watching basketball AP, because I'm in my mid 40s, right? This was the series. Every year, this regular season was just wait for these two to meet in the finals. So I'm glad that we have this fun rivalry to go ahead and watch tonight. I think this is a fantastic game from a fan's perspective. Of course, another one where we are waiting on news. We got the Jaylen Brown news on the Boston side, so thank you for that. But LeBron James, Dennis Schrader, and Robert Williams, all questionable. Anthony Davis is probable, but I don't know about you, AP. Whenever I see Anthony Davis on the list, I just kind of roll my eyes. I mean, the guy lives there.
Yeah, you have
right?
to.
I mean, he should pay rent to Basketball Monster because he just lives on an injury list. How do you view this game? I lean the Boston side, but actually my favorite play is the under if LeBron's ruled in. I just think he slows down the pace so much. And what he's going to do, he's going to try and attack this from a slow perspective. I like the under if LeBron's in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, like whether you like LeBron or not, you got to respect he's able, like he knows how this Lakers team needs to win. They're not going to win in shootouts against other teams. They aren't. That's not the makeup of their team at all. And what happens is when he's off the court, they struggle offensively. They still have. I mean, Russ and AD just can't get it going. AD is proving that he's not a guy that can take over games. Like, he's just not. And but when LeBron gets in there, everything starts to click. I think we see the defense get a little bit better. They have got, Horton Tucker. I mean, this guy's been incredible. And he's been better than Russ and AD, the guy that they're, paying max salaries, which is crazy. A lot of what I heard too recently is just, it reminded me they could have gotten DeRozan. And gosh, like LeBron is your point guard. You got Rondo to back it up. Like, hindsight is always 20/20, but isn't that the most like obvious decision? You get a guy who is excellent off the ball in DeRozan. You get a guy who can, if LeBron is struggling and can't take over, you can go to him. You can go to AD. If they would have gotten DeRozan there, that team would be miles and miles better. And it's one of those things that now when you see what he's doing with the Bulls, I mean, even if you're Lakers front office, like you got to be kind of kicking yourself just seeing with what Russ is doing and how this team just really hasn't looked good when it's just Russ and AD. But I do think LeBron plays tonight. It's on ESPN against the Celtics. A lot of people are going to be watching, and LeBron's a drama guy. He's it's all about me type show. So you got to think that LeBron plays here. I'm off this game for DFS purposes. We have too many good spots. I'm going to watch it though. Friday night, family is coming. We got a lot of family stuff tomorrow. We're hosting a party for the game, and we're going to have a ton of people over here. Tonight, I don't want to see anyone. I'm going to pour a glass of whiskey or a couple glasses, relax, watch a bunch of NBA. This is going to be one of the games that I watch. I'm going to root for a slow pace because I'm not going to have any pieces here for DFS, and I just want to see a good basketball game.
Yeah, maybe the only way you're going to get hurt on this game from the DFS perspective is rebounds, because I like the under here a lot. So that will be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see this historic rivalry kind of restored tonight, as both teams are now, they're in similar situations, right? Not really living up to expectations, but I don't think anyone that really observes the NBA has written either team off either, right? Or said like this is who these teams are. Westbrook usually gets better as the season goes on. It's usually about January for him to figure out how things go with the new team. And of course, Boston kind of, new coach, and then they haven't been healthy as well. So two teams with high expectations that haven't been performing so far that are both definitely going to want to win this game tonight. This one's not much fun, but I think maybe a little more fun for DFS. The Orlando Magic plus 10 heading to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. And the major news in this game, Kevin Durant will not be playing. Who else is out in this game? Michael Carter-Williams, he's always out. E'Twaun Moore, he's always out. Jalen Suggs, questionable. So I think that might have a slight impact. Paul Millsap out, and Claxton still in the G League. No Joe Harris either. Diminished Nets team here. Lane 10, how are you approaching this game?
Yeah, I'm looking at an old spread here. Okay, so it came down just a couple points. I think this game stays closer. Cole Anthony's been incredible. No one ever plays him in DFS formats. He's 8K tonight. Very few are going to play him. He's going to be under 10%. The guy did not shoot the ball well against the Knicks. He was 5 for 21. Still put up 41 fantasy points. Any better of a shooting night from him, he's above 50 again. Tonight, no KD. The game probably stays closer. Cole Anthony puts the team on his back. I think he's going to be right there again. I think with Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba, the game's going to be slow enough for these guys to do things. Because you got Blake Griffin in there. You got Aldridge in there. These guys, they're old. They don't want the game to speed up. So the game is going to stay slow enough for Carter, Jr., Bamba, and stuff to do some work. I might have a sprinkle of them in DFS formats. I'm not quite sure. I do love Aldridge tonight. I do love Harden. I think those are key pieces to build around. You could make the same case for Patty Mills and Bruce Brown. Very similar situation to the Warriors in that they're playing a bad team. They're down a star, or in the Warriors' case, multiple stars, which should make it more of a competitive game, which is good for DFS purposes. So, and then my main run back, I'm already looking at a few builds is Cole Anthony. The ownership is just way down. I think we do have a lot of guards that are in play tonight. That's just going to suppress his ownership even more. And man, this guy is showing a ton of upside on the season.
All right. Any thoughts on the total here of 209.5?
Spread, the unders are hitting at an unreal clip on the season. I would be. Man, did you know that there's only 5 teams in the NBA that have a hit rate on the over of over 50%?
No, but that makes sense to me because it's still hitting for the season between 55 to 60%. I haven't readjusted it, but 2 nights ago they were 11-0 on Wednesday night to the under. So that doesn't surprise me at all when you tell me that. So.
And one of the teams is the best defensive team in the league in the Heat. So
Right.
They have I think the highest over
But they
hit on the
consistently
season.
have the lowest totals, right? Because they come
Right.
in at
Right.
203, 204 a lot. So, and that's a little more comfortable in the new NBA, 203, 204, right? I think 209 is about right. I think you can look towards the over here if you think this stays close, which is weird because usually you don't correlate grabbing the points with the over. But unfortunately, I think for this game, that's how it works out. The Oklahoma City Thunder plus 12.5 heading to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. What do we have as far as news for this one? This is actually a quieter game news-wise, right? All I see on here is Derek Favors, Brooke Lopez. So Middleton's back. Looks like Drew Holiday will play. This line is pretty heavy. I don't think I'm going to get involved in this game at all. The total's 215.5. What are your thoughts on the side total and then maybe some DFS options?
Yeah, so this is these two teams have the combined best record towards the under on the season. So I think they're I posted it in chat earlier. I think they're 7-22 in favor of the under.
Oh, wow.
So I would lean under here. And even though the Bucks have pieces back, I could see it being like a 118 to 92 type game, just a complete disaster where it does get close to that total number. So I never feel good. Well, I mean, I lean to the under. I'm off this game for DFS purposes. People keep playing Giddey. It's kind of crazy, even in tournaments too. He's shown no upside. He's only shown upside in one game all season, but the sites have done a good job at keeping his price tag right in this mid 6K range. And he's just not doing anything, but he's always getting some ownership. So once he starts to get more aggressive, I get it. But man, this team has a rotation that is usually unfriendly for DFS. Blowout is always a risk, and then it's there's a lot of pieces here. So just something I kind of noticed. I'm showing a 15% ownership projection on DraftKings. FanDuel's price is much lower. And I'm showing a 43% projection on FanDuel. I think on both sides, he's a good fade tonight.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Giddey. Kind of reminds me of all the overreactions we put into the first week of the season, right? As we're just waiting for basketball to start. And I know he did fantastic, right? He hit the fire a couple times, was in a couple of the winning lineups. And I think people are kind of just hanging on to that first week, but he's kind of leveled off since then. And unless SGA's out, I haven't put him in the lineup since I think I got burned a couple times after the first week and adjusted a little quicker. So that'll be I don't even know how much we'll be watching that game as we're flipping through all of them tonight. Maybe if the Thunder can keep it close, I'm fine not wagering on this game at all. The Los Angeles Clippers are -4 heading to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans, a team who you could argue is looking to be the worst in the league for the first 16 games so far. Now they get Brandon Ingram back, and I think that's helped the team a lot. Still, they have Devontae Graham on the list for tonight. So I don't want to take a road favorite on the road on Friday night, even though the numbers are going to tell me that the Clippers are the play here, even with the Clippers missing multiple pieces as well. Serge Ibaka, finally played well in the G League. I heard he grabbed 22 and 14 last night. Should be up to the main squad pretty soon. Marcus Morris, Justice Winslow are both out. Batum is questionable. Still lean the shorthanded Clippers team, but I don't want to take a road team on Friday night against the Pelicans team that's probably pretty desperate to put together a good performance.
Yeah, so interesting that So I was listening to this yesterday too. Serge Ibaka down in the G League. I mean, and he had those comments. He came out with those comments not everyone can be like KD and just miss 2 years of playing and come back and be a 38, 40-minute guy. He goes, some of us, when we get hurt, we got to come back and we got to work. You like that attitude, but still, there's some risk to that. I was just kind of thinking through it. If you're a guy like Serge Ibaka, NBA champion with the Raptors, man, if you go down to the G League and you don't perform, what does that say about you? The teams are going to be like, whoa, because the expectation is if you're a guy like him, you're going down to the G League and you should be absolutely torching these guys. I mean, we saw it with Kevin Porter Jr., I believe, when he was spent a little bit of time down in the G League. I mean, he torched them. Same with Jalen Green, some of those Rockets guys. But yeah, I'm off the Pelican side of this game. Too many mouths to feed. Even like Josh Hart, he was popping in a few optimals, and he's popping in early ownership projections. I don't get it at all. I think it's going to correct, because like when you look at how efficient his game was against the Heat, he only took 8 shots and he made 5 of them. And then the rest were peripheral stats. But there's going to be a lot of peripheral stats to go around with Valanciunas out there, Ingram, Nikhil Walker, Devontae Graham. You got, they Garrett Temple off the bench has at times soaked up minutes. So big rotation here. I have zero interest in the Pelicans. What I did, actually, just because I don't want Hart or any of these guys kind of making their way into my builds, because Hart and Walker are a little bit lower price. I just X'd them all out. I clicked the X button. None of them are going to make it into my builds. And then I've been higher on the Clippers side because they've been running a tight rotation because of injuries and people being out. But they could get Batum back tonight. I don't just love this matchup. I don't think any of them are like a core play to build around outside of maybe Paul George. But I do feel we have better studs to spend up to tonight.
And we always love having the chat here. I stand corrected. Jordan Elmore, he says the Rockets are the worst team right now, actually. New Orleans has been playing to the under in the majority of their games so far. Yeah, I do stand corrected. The Rockets probably have been worse than the Pelicans. And the only reason I'm not going to the under, and it's probably the right play here, is just with Ingram back, the offense is a little better. So I think if you watch them without Ingram, they were pretty much Valanciunas and Devontae Graham, and that was about it for creating good shots. I know that we had, played Walker and some of those other guys some other times, and they had been rather disappointing, really, in their ability to get quality shots, not even with the fantasy output, but you're watching them, and they just didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had. With Ingram back, the offense should be a little more efficient. But that helped out their defense a little bit because they were not just constantly having to defend in transition. It's a lot easier to defend when you're taking the ball out of the basket there. But thank you for reminding me, Jordan, that, yes, the Rockets are the worst team right now in the NBA. The Chicago Bulls are +1 heading to Denver to take on, once again, a shorthanded Nuggets team. So Jokic is questionable. And I'll tell you what, so normally, he's an Iron Man, and I would just count him in even if he's on the list. I wouldn't be surprised if they necessarily sat him tonight. Barton's probable, Bones Highland probable, Caruso and Javonte Green on the other side are probable, and Zeke Naji, who came in, had one good game, and then hit the injury reserve. So a little disappointing for him to be out for this game. I didn't necessarily feel like getting involved unless you want to just take the Bulls right now, and if Jokic is out, you're just set in my mind. But other than that, I wasn't going to get involved in this game. What are your thoughts, AP?
Yeah, so I was just kind of reading some of the coach speak here. Malone, there's nothing wrong with Jokic. So he was probable. He got downgraded to questionable. It's never really a good sign. That is big news on the slate because Will Barton has been incredible, and the only path where he doesn't crush is if Jokic is out. I think he could crush too with Jokic in, but it's just a massive blowout. But if Jokic is out, this team is they've still been competitive at times. We've seen some of these guys like Barton, Monty Morris step up. So I would have some interest, especially too in some of the peripheral pieces. PJ Dozier, Bones Highland. I would have to go back and look at the game against Indiana. I think that would be a good one, obviously, to look at where Jokic was suspended for a game. Mm-hmm. Just bringing that up. The one thing, too, to keep in mind is I recall JaMychal Green and Jeff Green, JaMychal Green. A lot of these guys were chalk, okay? And they busted pretty hard. So we're going to see, if Jokic is out, we're going to see that usage all go to these scoring type guys and Will Barton, Monty Morris. That's where my interest would be. And I would not try to overproject guys like JaMychal Green, guys like Jeff Green. We already have better values on the slate. You don't need to go to those pieces. What you want to do is just take and put a ceiling projection of Will Barton and throw that in there and see how your builds look. That's how I would approach this situation. Because even if the Bulls do blow them out, if Jokic were to sit, I still think Will Barton could get there, man. He's been really incredible when the ball is in his hands. So really interesting spot to look at. I think Barton is fine if Jokic plays. I think he's a smash play if Jokic sits.
All right, and this is our proverbial wait for the news game of the night. And with that being said, it gives me an opportunity to remind everyone that news will be disseminated on the Run Pure Sports final countdown and within the Discord. So if you're not already a member of Run Pure Sports, please head on over. Use the promo code BETS. Get bets. Use the promo code Get Bets. That means you become a member to the bet side as well. You'll get access to my plays, Tyler's plays, JJ's plays, the Sports Keg, Joey Work, and Score with these. So make sure you're taking advantage of that because we know these fantasy slates can flip on their head, and we have fun doing this show at this time of the day. But really, it's our early thoughts and the way that we are setting up to really attack it. But the hard work, the nuts and bolts, gets done on the final countdown in the Discord. Make sure you are a member. Use that promo code GetBets. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks, who are catching 8.5 against the Phoenix Suns. So I had a lot of fun with this one when they played on Wednesday night AP because, I'm really big on superstar subtraction. And, the idea is Luka's very ball dominant, right? So how excited are these guys to get back to how they were in college, right? How Porzingis was on the Nets, right? Hey, I get to be the main guy now. I get to run the ball. And it ended up being tight, right? They looked great for the first 3 quarters. They made me sweat at the end, but they got it done. They got the cover. And I always say, hey, superstar subtractions like a great band or a great comedian. It's for one night only. Now the reality sets in that, hey, there's a reason this team is built around Luka, and we weren't really too high on this Mavericks team to begin with. Although they barely got the cover, I think the shoe falls tonight. The Suns are playing better. They're quietly just moved to the top of the Western Conference standings. Joey Work reminded me of that on the live show last night. I didn't realize how many games in a row they had won, because I was so concerned with their ATS record. I like the Suns here. I know they won by 7 in this very same matchup 2 nights ago, but I think they win by even more tonight as this Mavericks team runs out of gas without Luke out there to guide them and lead the way. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, interesting matchup for sure. I don't have an issue with that take at all. I do like the Dallas side quite a bit for DFS purposes.
Okay.
And one thing about Porzingis, like I don't know what, like Jason Kidd and that staff must have done something with him. It takes a deeper look into the statistics just in comparison to previous years. I mean, his block rate and what he's doing, especially on the defensive side of the ball with blocks and steals, is quite impressive. It just shows me he's being far more of an aggressive player through his last 4 or 5 games, this little stretch. And it didn't dip with Luka going out. What we saw happen, his usage rate actually increased pretty substantially. He even had a poor shooting night, but still put up 48 fantasy points. So when I go to put my projection in for him in this matchup, I got like 47 as my DK projection on him, under what he's done over the last 3 games, actually. But still, it's an aggressive projection. I'm showing like 39 to like 43 across the industry for him, but he's been exceeding expectations at such a high rate. I want to be ahead of the game there. Shout out to our boy Glock for kind of bringing this up. I believe it was last week. Just about Porzingis, when kind of a lot of people are still making fun of him, but it's really shown in his game. I think he's going to have a big game tonight. I actually might go and disagree with you, and I think 8 points, I think that's enough for Dallas to keep this close enough. I don't think they're going to get blown out. I mean, if you just go and look at it, Tim Hardaway did not have a good shooting night. He was 9 for 23. I mean, look at the shot attempts there. Like, I want a guy like Tim Hardaway taking that many shots when Luka's out. Those are usually probably quality looks. Jalen Brunson had an average shooting night. He smashed. I think it's a smash spot in DFS. I think Porzingis, Tim Hardaway, Jalen Brunson are the guys that we want to make priorities if we're targeting this game. And you just hope it stays, close to where it's competitive in the fourth. If that happens, these guys are going to pan out and they're going to be good plays. Because like Dorian Finney-Smith, while he's like a phenomenal player when you factor in the defensive side of the ball, a very good and strong defender, he's just kind of a 3-and-D type of guy. So he doesn't take up a lot of usage on the offensive side of the ball, which that's what we care about in DFS formats. So that just means more usage for Brunson, Hardaway, and Porzingis. And then we know Dwight Powell, and we know the center rotation is kind of all over the map. So I think it sets up really nicely to make like a 3-man stack, run it back with Ayton, and you have a really nice approach in tournaments tonight.
All right, yeah, and you answered my question. I was going to say, who do you like running it back with? DeAndre Ayton, is that it, or is there other sons we should be targeting?
Yeah, so the guys that are hitting a lot of my builds, Ayton is one of them. Biggs against the Mavericks has been very successful this season, and Ayton had a nice game. I think he has, he put a 41 against them 2 days ago. I think he has more than that in the tank. I think 45 plus is very reasonable here. So I think he's a phenomenal run back. Mikhail Bridges, 4.6. We have a lot of value on this slate. I don't know if I'll get there, but he's going to play 35 minutes. He's another defensive guy, but if you just go he's a good tournament play because he has a few random games last year where he absolutely broke the slate. This could be one of those slates to where a random guy, I mean, not necessarily random, but a guy like Mikhail Bridges puts up like 40 something and it just gets you over the hump.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be a great game for DFS, and we will see. We'll be able to see who gets the bragging rights in this one as AP likes grabbing the points with the Mavericks. I'm going to lay it with the Suns. The last game involves, it's going to be here in Sacramento, my hometown. The Toronto Raptors are catching 3 points, heading to Sacramento to take on the Kings. The Kings, of course, disappointed me on Wednesday night. And you guys always warn me on this show about Luke Walton, and I felt that he did it again. They were up. They're going into the fourth quarter. Davion Mitchell's plus 10. Anthony Edwards starts to heat up, and Walton just leaves Mitchell on the bench and lets Edwards just torch him. Kings end up losing by 10. I end up losing my bet with a little egg on my face, a little bit disappointed and trusting him. So I have the numbers tell me to bet the Kings, but I have a little bit of buyer's remorse from last time. We look at this Toronto team, right? I bet them last night at plus 10.5, right? Felt that was too many points. Felt pretty smart through about 2.5 quarters, and then the fatigue set in, right? Missing OG Anunoby, a little extra workload on the rest of those forwards, and this team kind of fell apart and didn't even come close to covering. I knew I had the ticket dead, with 6 minutes to go in the fourth. So tired Toronto team, Sacramento team with a coach we can't trust. How do we attack this game, AP?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the Jazz in the regular season. They are the kings of just destroying teams in the regular season. And when it comes to playoffs and the teams start playing defense and you get a lot of perimeter defense and they're not hitting as many of the threes that they're accustomed to hitting, you get a hand in Bojan's face, you get a hand in Ingles' face, play Mitchell tight, the game changes a little bit. And so, I mean, it's just it's a tough team to attack during the regular season because I just feel like in the regular season, teams aren't playing the kind of defense that we're accustomed to seeing down the stretch. So I do think this is a spot, though, where the Raptors, take the loss, concede it last night. It's a game that they want to win, especially with OG hurts, but you got Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, who's been playing really well, Pascal Siakam, and Scotty Barnes, who's been incredible. That group should be enough to keep this one close and interesting. The one thing that you will not get with Nurse and the Raptors side is any funky rotations typically, as long as someone isn't in foul trouble. I mean, these guys, it was a blowout last night. Gary Trent still playing for 35 minutes. Got to give another shout out to one of our guys, Gary, one of our coordinators. Fred VanVleet has been torching this Kings team. The last 2 trips there, 50 plus in each attempts. And you got to assume that that was when this Raptors team was much more healthy and more bodies, more usage to go around. Fred VanVleet at 8-1, it's a play that's going to feel very comfortable, very safe because of the minutes that he gets and because of how steady his production is. So what I did, I put his projection right around 47.5. Okay. So if I put it at 50, what he's already done, he's just going to hit every build. So I put it into a range to where I'm going to get a different mixture and a bunch of different studs are going to hit those builds. An example is Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony's another guy with a ton of upside to where, he's priced just under a guy like Fred VanVleet. I like both of them, but people are going to play Fred VanVleet over a guy like Cole Anthony. So, but there's just a lot of plays in that range. So I don't want to over project him to where he's just going to dominate all my builds. But I think 47 is a good number for him. And at that number, he hits a high percentage of my builds. I think he's a phenomenal play. Gary Trent's a little bit tougher because we have so many plays in that range, but I don't have any problem with him. Just understand he is more of a raw scoring type of guy. The peripheral stats aren't there, and I view peripheral stats kind of as a blanket, kind of as a floor with your player. And Fred VanVleet obviously has a higher peripheral stat rate than Gary Trent. Scotty Barnes, Siakam, I think are also fine plays. If we knew Siakam was going to spend a lot of time at the 5, man, I would have a ton of him tonight against this Kings team. That is something I need to dive into a little bit more. I want to understand this rotation, especially if I think Precious might sit tonight. If he does, maybe we get a little more Siakam at the 5. If that's the case, sign me up for him because I think he will smash down there in the paint against this Kings team.
Okay, so we expect the Warriors game and the Brooklyn game to be heavily targeted. I think, if you only make one lineup, you have to go that way. But let's say, hey, I told you I'm going to have some fun tonight, right? I think there's so many great options. I want to get involved. I'm going to make a bunch of different lineups. So, of course, we talk about getting different. I get different. I throw in some Raptors, right? I do like in this scenario, right? I grab VanVleet and Trent on one side. Who do I run it back with on the Kings, or is that just not necessary at all?
Yeah, NBA DFS, I think, kind of maybe a misconception is, whereas in football, it's typically optimal to have a run back. In NBA DFS, pricing, rotations, injuries, all of that stuff weighs way heavier than having run backs in there. Now, so it's situation by situation, okay? So in this situation, I don't feel you need a run back because the Kings are healthy. I mean, Halliburton would be an interesting one, but he's 6'2". We have Jordan Poole, who's 6'1". We have Cade Cunningham, who's 6'4". So it really comes down to kind of the positions and how many games on the slate and where if you can get that value or that replacement factor elsewhere at that position.
All right, guys. Well, we're about to make a mini core for you to start your day with on DraftKings, and then we will give out best bets. While we do that, could you please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hey, share with your friends. We're trying to grow this. We're getting the show going, more and more views every day, but we want to keep it going, and that's all thanks to you. You don't need to text it your friends. Tweet it on your social media, whatever. If you've got some winners from the show or got some great information, we would appreciate if you share it with your friends. All right, AP, we've got that out of the way. Let's move over to DraftKings and build a mini core for the people.
I'm putting the pressure back on you, Spread. You are starting us out this week. Do you remember what our core was last week? I meant to yeah.
I'll write it down though. I'll write it down. I could barely remember what my core was last night. That Mincash.
I want you to get us started this week. So
okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is just click on the Golden State Warriors. And I'm going to go ahead and look through them because I think, that's where we're going to start with our value. So I've got some good options here. Andrew Wiggins is the highest owned one. Poole's only 61. I like Peyton, but I think I'll play it safe with the guy that I think has a good ceiling, but I think has maybe the highest floor. And that's Jordan Poole at 6,100.
Okay. I like that. I am going to go to a center play that, let me just look at. I think he'll be popular, but I just think with a key guy out here, he has to be popular. But LaMarcus Aldridge, 4'9".
All right.
I'm not worried about the pace of play here. It should be a slower paced game, which benefits him. Often we talk about faster pace. That's what we want to target in DFS, but not when you're talking about a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge. So if the game is a little bit slower, I think it's going to suit kind of his style much better.
All right, and I think I'm going to upset half the coordinators on the Run Pure Sports staff. But let's head over to that Dallas Phoenix game and talk about a guy who's been much maligned. But let's get some Kristaps Porzingis action in there at power forward at 7,800. Do you agree with that? Putting us there?
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. Can we run it back? This is where we will do a run back. Can we run it back with Ayton?
Oh, wow.
Double center build. There we go.
Yeah, we actually, I mean, almost getting, three centers here with the core that we've made. So, guys, where we are starting is Jordan Poole, Kristaps Porzingis, LaMarcus Aldridge, and DeAndre Ayton. That gives you 24-5 left to play with to fill it out. That's an average remaining player of 61-25. Yeah, like the video, subscribe. We're going to continue to give you winners, and we're doing that now in the best bet segment. AP, what's your best bet for the day?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good, but I'm just gonna go with the Thunderbucks under.
Okay.
I mean, it goes against like everything like over the last 3 years. Betting NBA pace has dominated, scoring has dominated. It's gone up every single year until this year, and I'm gonna trust the trend here. I think even though the Bucks have pieces back, I think they're gonna clamp down defensively, make it tough on the Thunder. I think it's gonna be kind of a gross game. And yeah, I think it's just going to fall a little bit under 215 is what I was looking at. Is it still at that number?
Yeah, I have 215.5 on bookmakers.
There we go.
Offshore,
All right,
215.5. I'm putting the bet in right now. And you know what, AP, I don't think anyone watching this show last year would have believed this, but I'm going to take an under too. I'm going to take the under in the Celtics and the Lakers here. I just believe that LeBron comes back, this pace slows down, and it's going to be a hard-fought defensive game. It's going to be on national TV. Both teams are winning. I think we're going to see some great defense, and of course, that real liberal whistle, which I prefer. So, guys, thank you everybody for watching. AP, do you want to let everyone know what's going on at Run Pure Sports over the weekend before we sign off?
Yeah, we got all the usual sports, college basketball, NBA, all throughout the weekend, NFL, college football. But then also we are working on our holiday schedule as well. We're working on so all of our NFL. So on Thanksgiving, no NBA games, but it's one of the best and most fun NFL slates of the season. We're going to have all the normal content for that. So it's going to be just like a normal Sunday. You're going to have cores up. You're going to have slate plans, our player pool, all that stuff. And we're going to do a morning show, I believe. And I believe the guys are going to do a show maybe the night before as well. So plenty of content for Thanksgiving and the holiday weekend for everyone, or the holiday weekday for everyone next week. Something I'm definitely looking forward to.
All right, I wanted to thank everybody for watching today. An active chat box. Love to see that on a Friday. Remember, this information is brought to you by Run Pure Sports and RunPureBets.com. Head on over, use the promo code GetBets to become a member. Everybody, I hope these are winners for us today. I think this core will do you well if you line it up tonight. And hey, make sure you turn the subscription on, because I'm going to be back in about 45 minutes. Tyler did not make this show today. You want to know why? Because he's busy working hard getting these NFL props winners right. I'm going to be the host there. I'll throw in my ideas, but for the most part, he carries that show, and he's diligently at work going through each game, going through the card, the previous statistics to give you the winner. So that's going to kick off here in about 40 minutes. So it's a great reason to be subscribed to the channel. You will be notified when we go live. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and Run Pure.